Lagos, the city of dreams, the city of opportunity, the city where millions come to make their fortune. But in every city of light, there are corners of darkness, places where hope goes to die. And hidden in those shadows was a monster who brought the entire city to its knees. A serial killer, a terrorist, a man whose very name made grown men tremble. A man known only as the Butcher. Picture this: Ajegunle, 1985, the slums of Lagos, where poverty breeds desperation, where children learn to fight before they learn to read, where survival is the only lesson that matters. In a cramped, leaking shack, a baby boy was born. His mother, a 16-year-old girl who sold her body to feed herself. His father, a ghost who vanished the moment he heard the news. The boy had no name for weeks. No one cared enough to give him one. But when the local pastor finally baptized him, they called him Tunde Adebayo, a name that would later strike terror into the hearts of 8 million people. From his first breath, Tunde knew violence. His mother's boyfriends used their fists to teach him lessons. The street boys used knives to settle arguments. The police used batons to keep the peace. By age 7, he was stealing bread from market stalls. By age 10, he was running messages for drug dealers. By age 15, he had disappeared into the shadows of Lagos Island. His mother never looked for him. She was too busy surviving her own nightmare. Everybody in Ajegunle knew that boy was trouble, remembered Mama Kemi, an old woman who ran a small provision store. From a tender age, he had found joy in fighting and stealing. We know surprised he turned a killer. But even among the forgotten children of the slums, Tunde was different. His eyes held something cold, something empty, something that made other children step back when he walked by. At 20, Tunde had grown into a man. 6 feet tall, broad shoulders, hands that could break bones, and a smile that never reached his eyes. He worked as a bus conductor on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Every day he collected money from passengers. Every day he watched wealthy people count Naira notes like they were counting pebbles. Every day his anger grew. "We called him Tunde," said Baba Sule, an old bus driver who worked the same route. But even then, he was different. If you cross his path, you disappear. We all knew something was wrong with that boy. The first murder happened on a rainy Thursday evening. A businessman in a crisp white shirt had boarded the bus, gold watch gleaming on his wrist, briefcase full of cash for a business deal. But he made one mistake. He was rude to Tunde, called him a dirty slum boy, threw his money on the floor instead of placing it in Tunde's hand. That night, the businessman never made it home. His body was found 3 days later in a drainage canal. Throat slit from ear to ear. His gold watch was gone. His briefcase was empty. His face was mutilated beyond recognition. The police wrote it off as armed robbery. But Tunde had tasted something that night, something he liked, something he craved: power. After the first kill, Tunde changed. His eyes grew hungrier, his temper grew shorter, and his appetite for violence grew insatiable.
Hey, what is up?
At first, no one noticed. Lagos was already a dangerous city. People died every day. Accidents, robberies, gang fights. One more body was just another statistic. But soon, the pattern emerged. A bus driver found dead in his vehicle, throat cut, money stolen, face destroyed. A university student walking home from classes, stabbed 17 times, books scattered in her blood, face unrecognizable, a trader closing his shop late at night, beaten to death with his own walking stick, shop ransacked, face caved in. Each death, more brutal than the last, each victim left unrecognizable. The media began to take notice. Serial killer stalks Lagos streets. The face destroyer strikes again. Who is the monster among us? But Tunde was just getting started. As if killing was no longer enough for him, the young man who was now being whispered about in newspapers had a new idea. A darker idea, a more ambitious idea. If he was going to be a monster, he was going to be the king of monsters. Tunde began recruiting, not just anyone. He sought out the broken, the abandoned, the forgotten, the angry. Street boys who had nothing to lose. Ex-convicts who couldn't find work, drug addicts who needed money, young men who had been crushed by a system that never cared about them. One by one, he gathered them. One by one, he turned them into weapons. His first lieutenant was Emeka, a 17-year-old boy whose parents had been killed in a church bombing. His second was Kola, a former soldier dismissed from the army for excessive violence. His third was Ibrahim, a Hausa boy who had fled religious violence in the north, only to find poverty in the south.
Listen, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell are you waiting for? We bring you real stories, real experiences, real life chills. And if you don't hit that button, you're going to miss a ton of shocking content. Don't come crying later when everyone else is talking about it.
Each recruit was initiated the same way. They had to kill, not just anyone, someone innocent, someone defenseless, someone whose death would mean nothing to the world, but everything to Tunda. And slowly, quietly, methodically, Tunda built his army, a gang of broken souls, loyal only to him. They called themselves the Shadow Boys, but Lagos would come to know them by another name, the Butchers' Brigade.
We need to stop
By
this before it gets out of
2010,
control.
something had changed
Agreed.
in Lagos.
Let's make it
The
happen.
murders were no longer random.
It's out of control.
They were coordinated,
Agreed.
planned,
Let's make it
strategic. Bus stops were attacked at rush hour. Markets were raided during busy afternoons. Schools received bomb threats. Churches were burned. Mosques were vandalized. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe. No one was protected. The Butcher owned the streets. The entire city lived in fear, recalled Mrs. Aduni Ogunsola, a teacher who lived through those dark years. Parents warned their children never to walk alone. We stopped going out after sunset. Even going to church became dangerous. Bus drivers refused to work certain routes. Entire districts were avoided after dark. Shop owners closed early. Even hardened street boys stayed indoors. The government tried to downplay the crisis. Isolated incidents, they claimed. Normal urban crime, they insisted. But behind closed doors, they were terrified. Politicians hired extra security. Government officials moved to secure compounds. Even the governor stopped making public appearances. Even politicians refused to appear in public, remembered Chief Adebola Fatoki, a former state commissioner. We received intelligence reports daily. The Butcher wasn't just killing randomly anymore. He was targeting anyone with influence, anyone with power. The Butcher had evolved, no longer just a serial killer. Now he was something more dangerous, a terrorist. His gang didn't just kill for money. They killed to send messages. They killed to create fear. They killed to prove that they owned Lagos. And with each successful attack, his legend grew. Stories spread through the slums. Whispers in the markets. Rumors in the bars. Some said he had juju. Others claimed he had made a deal with evil spirits. Many believed that bullets couldn't kill him. All agreed that he was no longer human. He had become more than a man. He had become a myth. A nightmare, a monster that parents used to frighten their children into obedience. But myths can be destroyed, and even monsters can bleed. The government was about to prove it. In 2013, enough was enough. The federal government could no longer ignore what was happening in Lagos. Too many bodies, too much fear, too much international attention. Operation Iron Fist was launched with a single mission: find the Butcher, capture the Butcher, end the Butcher. The task force was assembled from the best of the best: military special forces, elite police units, intelligence operatives, foreign advisors. Their commander was Colonel Musa Garba, a man who had fought Boko Haram in the north and lived to tell about it. Their mission was simple in theory: hunt down Tunda and his gang, bring peace back to Lagos. We were confident, Colonel Garba later admitted. We had technology, training, firepower. How hard could it be to catch some street thugs? They were about to learn. The raids began at dawn, simultaneous strikes across the city: Mushin, Ajegunle, Ikorodu, Agege, Surulere, hundreds of officers, dozens of locations, one target. But every raid came up empty. Safe houses were abandoned, hideouts were deserted, weapons caches had been moved. It was as if the Butcher knew they were coming, as if he could see through walls, as if he was always one step ahead. We lost men. Good men, Colonel Garber's voice cracked as he remembered. It felt like he always knew our plans. Every operation was compromised. Someone was feeding him information. For 6 months, the cat-and-mouse game continued. The government announced success after success. Major arrests made. Gang hideouts destroyed. The net is closing, but the butcher remained free. And the bodies kept piling up. If anything, he had become more vicious, more brutal, more creative in his violence. He wasn't just evading capture, he was mocking his hunters. But even kings can fall, even monsters can be defeated, sometimes by enemies, sometimes by friends. The butcher's downfall came from within, from someone he trusted, someone he had saved, someone he considered a brother. Emeka, his first lieutenant, the 17-year-old orphan who had pledged loyalty unto death. But Emeka had grown tired of running, tired of killing, tired of living in fear, tired of watching innocent people die. The final straw came when Tunde ordered an attack on a primary school. "Kill the children," he commanded. "Their parents will learn to fear us." For the first time in 3 years, Emeka said no.